Welcome back, Defenders. This is what Ukraine is up against this summer. According to President Zelensky, 50,000 Russian troops massed near Sumy, bordering Russia's Kursk for a new offensive. The Ukrainian president stated that Moscow aims to establish a 10-kilometer buffer zone inside Ukraine's territory, though he expressed doubt about Russia's capabilities to achieve this strategic objective. This is according to the Washington Post. Ukrainian officials warn that Russia sees this summer as its last chance to win militarily. This is not what Putin believes, this is what Russia's generals believe. Russia is preparing a major summer offensive, aiming to seize the remaining 30% of Donetsk, still held by Ukraine. So Russia's real objectives are the cities of Pokrovsk and Konstantinivka, but they're going to launch a summer offensive into Sumy and Kharkiv to try and pull resources and manpower away from Donetsk. This is what Russia is going to attempt to do. The estimates range, but Russia potentially has 125,000 troops stationed near Sumy and Kharkiv's borders, but that's not their real objective. So we'll zoom in on the map, and I haven't done many map updates, guys, because the Russians really aren't moving. The city of Avdiivka, this fell a year and a half ago, and the next mid-sized town, these are all small villages, but the next big city was Pokrovsk, and the Russians have basically been halted outside of this city for 9 or 10 months. Yes, they occasionally gobble a wheat field, but they take horrendous casualties. You can see the Russians are just kind of slinking around the city, hoping to cut off this supply road, but this is a kill zone for FPV drones. But Russia somehow needs to take this city. The other mid-sized town they haven't taken yet is Konstantinivka. You can see, we can zoom in how many city blocks there are. I'm sure the entire town has already been leveled, but Russia is slowly approaching it from 3 sides. We're going to do it, guys. We're going to get out the ruler, and I'm going to show you how far the Russians have gone in 3.5 years. Going back to February of 2022, this is the magenta. How far have the Russians gotten in this direction? 10 kilometers. 3.5 years of continuous warfare, continuous attacks to gain control of this town of Donetsk. And the Russians have gone 10 kilometers. If you want, we can also check in on the city of Bakhmut. The Russians took this late 2022, early 2023, with the help of Prigozhin and the Wagner Group. And the next mid-sized town was Chasiv Yar. 2.5 years of continuous warfare, and the Russians still don't have full control of Chasiv Yar. So once the Russians think they can take Pokrovsk and Konstantinivka, they then have to go for Kramatorsk, Sloviansk, Liman, maybe even Izium. But this is wishful thinking on the Russians' part. Russia says they're mobilizing between 40 and 45,000 troops per month, but Ukraine is mobilizing 25 to 27. These are the numbers actually given by President Zelensky. And it's not great, but everyone has known this entire time that Russia has more people, Russia has more resources. What matters, though, is who has the better soldiers, the better quality of equipment, the better financial support. And Ukraine still has the advantage at this time. And I just want to highlight the absurdity of the Russian military and what they are fielding on the battlefield. Russia is out of supply trucks, so they're handing off donkeys to their soldiers. In my last video, I shared with you the Porcupine tank, and this is a new Russian innovation. This is the Shed tank. Let me share with you this video. So yes, this is a tank, but do you see a turret? This tank cannot fire. It's no longer a tank. It has no thermals, it has no optics, the crew cannot easily get in and out. What is the purpose of this? And it's just Russians desperate to stay alive due to FPV drone attacks. But this stupid shed tank can still be destroyed by landmines or artillery. Russia continues to conscript soldiers. Yes, 40 to 45,000 sounds like a lot, but they don't have any equipment to give them. And they don't have a winning strategy how to advance on the battlefield. So Ukraine needs all the support they can get prior to this major summer offensive. Ukraine and Germany sign agreements on long-range weapons. Germany will directly finance long-range weapons production on Ukrainian soil under a new agreement signed by both countries' defense ministers. Germany allocates $5.7 billion for Ukraine for weapons, ammunition, and satellite communications. Thank you so much to the German people. This is fantastic. Let me share with you a clip of Zelensky's visit to Berlin. This occurred 2 days ago.
Hello, President. Good to see you.
Good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Government change. This is the negotiation for it, and it's called the partnership. It's the partnership of both. Give it to you as a symbol. That's it. Please.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perhaps you can describe me how's the situation now?
Germany looks nice. Zelensky says defense assistance, investments in Ukraine's defense industry, and support for our path to the European integration were the main topics of our meeting with the president of the German Bundestag. We thank Germany for its decision to allocate 7 billion euros in military aid to Ukraine this year. We also addressed the possibility of increasing this amount. We are counting on parliamentary support. Zelensky also met with the German Chancellor and held a press conference. I want to read for you what the German Chancellor's statement was concerning assistance to Ukraine. And the massive airstrikes, especially on the city of Kyiv over the weekend, do not speak the language of peace, but rather the language of an aggressive war of aggression. This is a slap in the face for all those who are fighting for a ceasefire, not only in Ukraine itself, but also in Europe and the United States. We will continue our military support, and we will expand it so that Ukraine can continue to defend itself against this Russian aggression, both now and in the future. And I would like to highlight something new in this context. We will finance a significant portion of the country's Starlink coverage, and today, our defense ministers will sign a memorandum of understanding on the procurement of long-range weapon systems manufactured in Ukraine, known as long-range fires. There will be no restrictions on range. Ukraine will thus be able to defend itself fully, even against military targets outside its own territory. This marks the beginning of a new form of military-industrial cooperation between our countries, which has great potential. This is all amazing news. This is all fantastic support coming from the Germans. So let's get Russia's reaction, and this is what Lavrov has to say. This reporter is going to first ask him the question, and then Lavrov is going to respond. MERS not only confirms that all restrictions on long-range missiles have indeed been lifted for Ukraine. Today at a press conference with Zelensky, he stated that they will finance the production of long-range missiles in Ukraine so that Ukraine can then fire them wherever it deems necessary. Lavrov responds, "If I understood correctly what I read, MERS said at a press conference that from the very beginning, he meant specifically the financing and production of missiles of any range in Ukraine. I did not see any statement of German missile deliveries. This needs to be checked. Both these are escalating tensions and supporting the war. Germany is being directly drawn into this war. We already have German tanks occasionally driving around our territory. They mostly burn rather than drive. Direct involvement in the war is already obvious. Germany is sliding down the same slippery slope it has already followed a couple times in the last century, down towards its collapse. I want to remind everyone that Russia's empires have also collapsed in the last century, 1918 and 1991. But Germany is no longer publicly declaring what military aid they're going to send to Ukraine. This is for OPSEC reasons, and people are speculating they're not going to announce when Taurus cruise missiles will be delivered. But they have to be delivered, right? And this partnership to produce long-range missiles on Ukraine's territory is a compromise for the Germans to say, we're not supplying long-range missiles. So does that mean, like, they're going to take Taurus cruise missiles apart and then send the parts to Ukraine? Ukraine just puts them back together and paints them blue and yellow, and then Germany can say, we're not involved? We don't really know what Germany is attempting to do here, but this is a lot of money, this is a lot of direct investment and support, and this will make a difference on the battlefield this year. Russia delays promised ceasefire memorandum ahead of new peace talks. Ukraine gives Russia a 4-day deadline. Back on May 16th in Istanbul, these peace talks didn't accomplish anything. But the Russians did promise they would draft a peace memorandum of what the Russians are looking for in order to stop this war. And that was over 2 weeks ago. The Russians are stalling. They don't want to publicly declare what their peace demands are. But there has been a leak to Reuters. According to Reuters, they have contacts in the Kremlin. And when this peace memorandum is released next week, this is what Putin is going to be demanding. The West must pledge to halt NATO expansion to the east. Ukraine, Georgia, and Moldova, and any former Soviet republics can never join NATO. Ukraine must be forever neutral. All Western sanctions placed on Russia must be lifted. All frozen Russian assets in G7 banks must be returned to Russia. And then protection for Russian speakers in Ukraine. This is never going to happen. Russia is going to demand that all sanctions on Russia be lifted and $300 billion be returned for a ceasefire that Russia can just break as soon as they feel like it. Trump is very disappointed with Putin, but gives him another 2 weeks. Trump said that he was very disappointed with Russia's attacks on Ukraine, but gave the Russian leader another 2 weeks before the US will respond a little bit differently. There are now montage clips of Trump saying, I'm going to get tough, or I'm going to do something about Russia in 2 weeks. I'll link the clip down below, but on April 27th, Trump said, if Russia doesn't agree to a ceasefire or take peace talks seriously, in 2 weeks I'll do something. On May 19th, he said, in 2 weeks, and then yesterday he said once again 2 weeks. Trump is kind of famous for doing this. He's been doing this for 10 years. If you ask him about when is he going to reveal his healthcare plan, he'll just say in 2 weeks. If you ask him, where's your transportation bill, he'll say it's coming in 2 weeks. That's just what he does. So I have to just wonder what the hell is going on, because Donald Trump isn't doing what Russia wants. If Donald Trump truly was a Russian agent, then he would return frozen assets, lift all sanctions, normalize relations, and stop providing military aid to Ukraine. He's not exactly doing that. He's not exactly helping either. Donald Trump walks his own unique path, but he can't keep doing this forever. Just ignoring the entire world being outraged by Russia bombing civilian cities and just saying, maybe I'll do something in 2 weeks. So there is a new meme online that originated yesterday, and I'm going to have Trump's former national security advisor John Bolton explain what exactly is taco diplomacy.
Do you think there is some kind of sense inside the White House, or at least the West Wing, that Russia's not making real concessions here, and they haven't since Trump took office.
Well, it could also be that Putin really thinks he's got Trump on the run here, and that despite the bluster about sanctions or other steps, Putin still thinks he's got the advantage. And there's an interesting name that's come out of the stock market looking at Trump's back and forth on tariffs. Tariffs are on, tariffs are down, market changes, Trump changes his tariffs. They call it the taco trade, which stands for Trump always chickens out. So if you're the Kremlin watching the taco trade at work, you're not going to be intimidated by Trump's threats. You're going to say, as Dmitry Peskov, Putin's press spokesman, did today, you want to worry about something really serious, worry about World War III.
What about the reverse?
Because it's the internet, this is taking off. Trump is now known as the taco POTUS. When tariffs sizzle and markets fizzle, the taco POTUS takes a bite and backs down. Trump was saying 145% tariffs on China. The stock market went down. He then reduced it to 30. He said 50% tariffs on the EU. The stock market went down. He then reduced it to 30. Trump always chickens out. Trump always chickens out. Trump always chickens out. With AI, you can now pretty much turn Trump into a taco in millions of ways. And it's Taco Trump. Taco Trump, he's a chicken. Taco Trump. Trump always chickens out. Trump doesn't like being made fun of. He doesn't like being taunted. This is a term that came from Wall Street, saying don't take Trump's threats seriously. He always chickens out when the market goes down. But the same is true with Russia. Trump has been occasionally saying he's going to do something to make this war stop. He can stop this war in 24 hours, and he keeps chickening out. Trump also exposed himself 2 days ago with this insane tweet saying that really bad things would have already happened to Putin, and really bad things would have already happened to Russia, except for Trump protecting Putin and protecting Russia. This is Russia's reaction to Trump claiming that he is their best friend and he is the one shielding them. Vladimir Solovyov responds to Trump's comments directed at Putin. This is the latest clip from Russia Media Monitor. Trump keeps writing stuff, I don't know what for. He is clearly living inside of an information bubble and does not even ask even elementary questions. Here is what he wrote. What Vladimir Putin doesn't realize is that if it weren't for me, lots of really bad things would have already happened to Russia. And I mean really bad. He's playing with fire. With all respect to Donald Trump, I think Donald Trump is the one who does not understand. And not Russia or its supreme commander-in-chief. From the beginning, we've been preparing for a war against NATO. So when these phrases come out, that we can do something bad, let me remind you of something. We can destroy the world several times over. Solovyov once again threatening to nuke the entire world. I'll remind you the words of the Supreme Commander-in-Chief. Who needs the world if Russia isn't in it? So no one should harbor any illusions. There will be no meekness. It won't happen. If you want to threaten Russia, take a number and get in line. There are many ahead of you. Better yet, look at the graves of those who threatened Russia. There were many of those in Russia's 1,000-year history. Russia talks tough, but they suck on the battlefield. Why Trump needs to follow through and trigger the downfall of Russia. The solution is there. Peace through strength. Provide overwhelming military aid to Ukraine and unleash these bone-crushing sanctions on Russia's banking and energy sector. After 3.5 years of war, Russia has never been weaker. Donald Trump doesn't want to do this because he likes Putin. He likes the Russians. The Russians are corrupt and Trump loves being bribed. But Putin is giving him no choice. Donald Trump was prepared to give the Russians the best peace deal imaginable. the Russians would have been allowed to keep everything they've taken. Trump would have lifted all sanctions, returned all frozen assets. All the Russians had to do was stop killing people and stop the war. And Putin doesn't want to do that. So unless Donald Trump wants to deal with this headache for the next 3.5 years of his presidency, he has to stop the Russians. And there's only one way to stop the Russians: provide overwhelming military aid to Ukraine and increase sanctions. Trump is looking for any way to avoid doing that. But the Russians don't want peace. The Russians want their empire back, and they're willing to kill millions over the coming decades to do that. So let's get to the bad news for Russia. Russia's underground nuclear missile sites mapped in a leak. Danwatch and Der Spiegel analyzed millions of files and hundreds of detailed blueprints, exposing the scope of Russia's secretive nuclear weapons modernization. Russia's vast nuclear modernization exposed in an unprecedented security breach. The entire world just got all of Russia's nuclear secrets. 2 million documents detailing Russia's strategic nuclear facilities were just leaked, including building plans, tunnel diagrams, IT systems, security layouts, alarm schematics, even down to sports equipment, wall posters, and soldiers' leisure activities at nuclear sites. Critical information revealing all of their structural vulnerabilities. The fallout could force Russia to rebuild parts of its nuclear infrastructure from scratch, potentially costing billions. The leak occurred via state procurement tenders. Western intelligence already knew all of this information, but because it was leaked to journalists in Germany, this is now public information for the entire world. All of these documents are being released, and this is embarrassing for the Russians, but it's understandable how this is possible. I was a nuclear missile operations officer in the United States Air Force for 6 years, and in my 6 years of service, I never experienced any corruption. I never experienced anyone taking a bribe or asking for a bribe or forcing someone to bribe someone. But that's not how they do it in Russia. Russia's military chain of command is entirely based on corruption. Kickbacks, payouts, bribes. So if you want to get all of Russia's nuclear secrets, it's not hard to bribe a military commander when that's what they do all day, every day to each other. Russia's really pathetic. This is nothing new for Western intelligence, but for the public, Der Spiegel is putting all of it out there. If you want to know all of Russia's nuclear secrets, it's now public information. Grenade explosion kills Russian commander behind the 2022 Mariupol airstrikes. Russian media says this is the former airstrike commander Zaur Gutsiev, and he had been serving as the Stavropol deputy mayor since September. But Ukrainian intelligence got him. This was basically the commander that called in the airstrikes that destroyed the city of Mariupol, potentially killing tens of thousands of civilians. I'll link the video down below, but I'm guessing it was some kind of car bomb. That's the major right there, and he is no longer with us. Ukraine hits Russian cruise missile factory near Moscow with long-range drones. Ukrainian drones successfully bypassed Russian air defense systems to take out this production factory. There is a video. If you want to see a Ukrainian drone go boom, I'll link it down below. In addition, fire and explosions reported at the Russian defense plant in St. Petersburg. This is something that produces military equipment for the Russian military, and Ukraine successfully struck it with a drone. Putin acknowledges Russia's potato shortage amid record price increases. This is the hot topic issue in Russia this week. President Putin on Tuesday acknowledged Russia's mounting potato shortage, driven by underwhelming crop yields that have led to record-breaking price increases. In Russia, potato prices have soared, According to state statistics agency Rosstat, retail prices rose 92% last year. By May 2025, year-over-year prices had climbed by 166%, making potatoes the fastest-rising food item in the country. Your potato crop yields are weak, Russia. They're weak. Here's an interesting statistic. Record 81% of Europeans support a common defense policy amid the Ukraine war. Trust in the European Union has reached the highest point in 18 years. A poll shows that 59% of EU citizens support the purchase and supply of weapons to Ukraine. The European Union doesn't have its own military, but because of what the Russians are doing, and because Donald Trump is not a reliable ally, the European Union now needs a common European defense force, separate from NATO, separate from the United States, that can address the real threats coming from the Russians. More good news from Germany. Germany sends secret Gepard convoy as Ukraine prepares for the summer fire. These Gepard guns are really good at shooting down Shahed drones, so Ukraine can't get enough of them. Thank you so much to the German people. UK uses Russian frozen profits to back Ukraine with a $3 billion defense deal. Thank you so much to the Brits. Final video is once again from Ilya Ponomarenko, showing you the heavy price that Ukraine continues to pay, while the West still finds the political courage to supply the aid that is necessary to defeat Russia.
Будемо звинувачувати тих, які взяли на себе обов'язок і підтримують це.
Continue supporting Ukraine. Russia will be defeated. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth. Keep defending democracy.